Let's stay on the theme of UFC 300, guys. And I guess where this is coming from is Bo Nickel had told us all he was going to fight on 300, but didn't announce an opponent. So then we were wondering, hey, is Bo trolling? Like, is Bo having a little bit of fun? Well, no, sure enough, he's on 300, and they've now announced an opponent. You've got Aljamain Sterling with his next thing to do, which is going to be Calvin Kattar. And I know Aljo could feel it blowing in that direction. I spoke to him at the World MMA Awards, and he did not know what was coming up next. But he did share with me, because I told him, hey, you know who I want to see you fight? I want to see you fight Brian Ortega. And I've been a little surprised that nobody's been talking about that. And Aljo shut me right down. He said, well, hey, let me fill you in. Ortega's going to fight Yuri Rodriguez. They're going to do that in a rematch. So the way he shared it with me, I thought it was inside scoop, which is why I didn't bring it to you guys. Now it's out, so I'll just confirm. But when they brought up the Bo match and they brought up the Aljo match with 300, it's got me on this 300 theme. And we're going to do special things that night. I've heard so many guesses. And I never like to scold the audience. I don't like to do that. I don't love that it's the professor running class. That's the way it is. But I try to act like it's not. I try to act like we're all on the same level, you know. It's pretend. I'm pretending. But I try. I do a good job with pretending that we're equal of intelligence. And then the other side of it is it's really not your responsibility to be completely boned up on the nuances and the intricacies within the administrative rules or within the policies of the organization. That would be my job. But there are some things that you will miss so blatantly. Like, God, are you guys just not paying attention? Like, here, let me give you an example. I hear all these rumors we're going to have Ronda come back. I mean, just silliness, right? I hear all these rumors we're going to have Brock Lesnar come back. Just insaneness, right? But a very strong rumor was George St. Pierre and Nate Diaz were going to come back. I apologize, Nick Diaz was going to come back, but insert Nate as well, because that was a good, strong rumor. You know, hey, Nate's available and the PFL's talking to him, but he hasn't decided yet, which means, you know, maybe he wants to come home and say one of these things. Like, there's some legs to it. It was just always confused, where I just kind of sit back and go, what is wrong with you? When I would hear these suggest, well, it's going to be UFC 300, so this is what they're going to do. They're going to put Chael and Anderson on the card. Like, I was hearing things like this. It was fun to be inserted in that. I was hearing these things. But this would be on the same page. The same page where I'm reading these insane guesses, right underneath why Conor isn't going to be on it. Because of the USADA pool. And so there was your answer. Everybody whose name you suggested, everybody, would be in the exact same situation as Conor, which is they did not put their 6 months into the pool when they returned. So I would just always be thrown off when I would see these guests. Well, could it be George and could it be Nick? No, it couldn't be George and it couldn't be Nick. Well, why not? Because they're not in the pool. And if they go to the pool, of course they have to do the same thing that Conor did, which is 6 months, which is like captivated our sport and our headlines for all of 2023. So I share that with you because I do believe there's going to be some really great things. And no matter how great you want 300 to be, you're still dealing with a budget, right? You're still running a business. You still have things and lines that you got to stay in between. And you're still dealing with amongst the most cowardly athletes in professional sport. I mean, I've truly never seen fake tough guys more than I see in this sport. I do not put LeBron James as a tough guy. I don't think you do either. I do not put, who's the good-looking quarterback? He was married to that gal that was very pretty. I always want to call him Manning, but it's a Brady. I don't put Brady in the category of a tough guy. Now, Brady's a very tough guy, but not tough guy, right? That's a different category. But LeBron and Brady, when they give the franchise their word that they're going to show up on any given Sunday or whatever day basketball plays, never, and I do mean ever, need to sit down and negotiate or talk or go to camp or prepare special when they find out who they're going to be opposite. If they agreed to play on Sunday, they will play whoever steps on the field on Sunday. And if who they thought they were going to play turns out to be hurt, so they bring somebody else in. They don't sit down and renegotiate. Their responsibility and their commitment is already done. I have a responsibility to my commitment to play on Sunday. Whoever you, that's not got anything to do with me. I said I'll play on Sunday. And everybody will do that. Except the guys that are supposed to be the real tough guys that only go to work 3 times a year, and you got to talk to them inside and out just to get them to do that, right? I mean, it's one of these things. So no matter how great you want to make a card, and no matter where your heart and mind is at, you got a whole bunch of guys, you got them all under contract, you got the text messages from 1 million guys that are begging to be on the show. When it's time to put pen to paper, it's a very different conversation. And the tone you hear on the phone is not the tone of the text message you received 2 weeks ago. So with that in mind and understanding how difficult these things can do while you must deliver, I submit for you what is possibly the most coveted championship we got. And that's a real misunderstanding. I know you, the audience, is on board with the BMF. I know that you're on board. I understand that. But one of the misunderstandings is for the boys in the back, that's the big one. Because there's only one. They want to be recognized as the baddest, and there's only one. So, like, this is a little guy's delight. I mean, could you imagine having some of the most dangerous unarmed skill set on planet Earth? There's 8 billion men, and you're amongst the best when it comes to using the hands and the feet, but you weigh 125 pounds. Like, you're right. I mean, it's one of those things. Could you imagine how dangerous and how good you're, but you weigh 142 pounds? Like, could you imagine? Well, now all of a sudden there's a belt that will be recognized that you could hold over everybody's head, including the Aspinalls of the world, including the Stipes and the Joneses, the big boys. Because there's only one. And if you found a way to, right, it's a big deal. So I just submit for you that the BMF title is going to be on the line. And I'll go a step further to tell you the BMF title had better be on the line. Now, one thing that the BMF has not had is a lineage. And one thing we know about this sport is we will fiercely adhere to the rules that we make up on the fly. But I don't believe, even though we would have the ability to bring 2 brand new guys in and call it a BMF fight, I don't believe that's going to happen. I believe it will involve Justin Gaethje. So, if you got Gaethje and you got the belt, and only one guy has called Justin Gaethje out. And Justin Gaethje hasn't called out anybody because he believes he's next in line for Islam, and he's willing to wait. He's willing to wait for Islam. Now, he's only willing to wait for Islam, not because it's Islam and not because it's the undisputed title. He's willing to wait for Islam because it's the title. Well, once you remind him, you have a title too, and we would like you to defend it, all of a sudden, all of that has changed. So now you must just defer back to simply who called him out. There's only one guy, which is Max Holloway. So as we're starting to look at UFC 300, and we're starting to look to what we can predict and what we can see happening, I'm not only going to tell you that the BMF is going to be defended, I'm going to go a step further and tell you it had better be defended. That's the big prize. That's the one the boys want. And you're going to see evidence of that when Justin Gaethje, who could wait and have a unified title fight, is not going to wait. Because he's got this other title. And when you see Max Holloway, who's as good as any fighter to have ever done this sport, leave his division and go up to 55, he's going to need a prize. He's going to need something to go there for, and that's when you're going to find out just how important that BMF is to the boys. Justin Gaethje and Max Holloway. That announcement is coming soon.